Foundations of Binaural Beats. Welcome to this gentle introduction. Settle into a comfortable position. Allow the jaw to soften and let the breath arrive naturally. In this segment, the focus is the basic idea behind binaural beats. When two slightly different tones are presented separately to the left and right ears, the auditory system blends them into the perception of a third tone, the difference between the two. This is called a binaural beat. The audible tones remain steady, yet the brain perceives a slow internal rhythm. This perceived rhythm invites neural activity to lean toward that pace, a phenomenon often described as frequency following or entrainment. The intention here is not to force the mind, but to offer a calm, predictable pattern that the nervous system can rest against. A slow, even breath supports this process. The shoulders can drop with each exhale, and the brow can soften. The sound bed underneath is designed to be smooth, warm, and stable. No sharp edges, no sudden changes, so the body can feel safer letting go. Some listeners notice a sense of expanded space, as if the sound gently opens the room. Others simply notice less chatter in thought. There is no goal to chase. Let the attention drift like a leaf on quiet water. If thoughts appear, they can pass through like clouds. If a detail catches interest, the steadiness, the subtle stereo motion, that's fine too. The sound is here as a companion, not a command. Keep the volume low to moderate, enough to sense the texture without strain. If headphones are available and comfortable, stereo separation can feel more immersive, but comfort matters most. Over the next minutes, remain open and unpressured. Emphasis is on softness. Soft breath, soft shoulders, soft sound. Let the system find a slower rhythm in its own time. Delta waves for deep sleep. Begin by noticing the contact points beneath the body and allow gravity to be supportive. This segment gently discusses delta activity, very slow brain rhythms commonly associated with the deepest stages of sleep. In practice, listeners don't need to hear a 3-cycle per second tone. The experience is more about an overall sense of heaviness, stillness, and safety. The ambient bed is intentionally low and warm, guiding attention downward, encouraging muscles to release effort. When the mind senses a consistent, predictable environment, it often finds it easier to let vigilance subside. This is why quiet, gradual sound design matters. The measured breath can follow the same principle, unforced, slightly longer on the exhale, as if steam is leaving the body. If the eyes are closed, the inner field may grow darker, and that is welcome. Delta-oriented practice is not about intensity. It is about decreasing the number of things the nervous system needs to track. The soundscape limits bright information, so the ear doesn't have to manage frequent surprises. Over time, a slow bass rhythm can coax attention into a more restful mode. Listeners may feel the forehead soften, the jaw unclench, and the small muscles of the hands and feet relax. If sleep arrives, allow it. If wakefulness persists, simply remain with the slow pacing. This is not a test, it is an invitation. Let the sound hold a steady lantern in a quiet room, while the body completes the day's unwinding. Theta waves and the hypnagogic bridge allow the breath to flow in an easy arc, and notice any gentle sway in the torso. Theta patterns are often associated with a bridge state, somewhere between wakefulness and sleep, where imagery, memory fragments, and creative associations can surface. Rather than chasing these images, let them come and go. The ambient bed here is designed to be permissive, soft movement without urgency, wide stereo without disorientation, and tone colors that discourage analysis. In this bridge state, problem-solving tends to loosen. The mind stops gripping for immediate answers and begins to explore. The pacing of the narration is intentionally slow to demonstrate that a relaxed tempo can support access to material that is normally overshadowed by daytime urgency. The ears can listen broadly, as if taking in the entire field at once. The exhale can be a quiet release, the inhale a small welcome. If a thought stream tightens, widen attention again. Include the weight of the body, the air on the skin, the room's temperature. Theta-oriented listening is like walking at dusk. Details are softer, edges blur, and meaning arises without force. This is an environment where drifting is allowed, and insights often arrive sideways. Stay with the gentle continuity of sound, and if drowsiness comes, let it guide the next step. Alpha states and calm focus. Rest the hands in a comfortable place and let the eyes settle. Alpha rhythms are commonly linked with calm wakefulness. Not zoned out, not hyper alert, but a balanced, receptive state. The music bed supports this balance by reducing sharp transients, keeping the spectrum warm, and offering a slow bloom in the pads. This makes listening feel more like sitting beside a quiet lake than scanning a busy street. In this calm focus mode, tasks that require steady attention, reading, planning, or light creative work can feel less effortful. The mind has room to breathe. The narration keeps a relaxed cadence to model the tempo the system can adopt. Breathing can follow. Inhale gently, exhale slightly longer. If distraction arises, it can be acknowledged and then allowed to pass through the sound field. The ears can lean into the wide stereo image as if opening a window. The point is not elimination of thought, but reduction of noise around thought. With fewer peaks and dips in the audio, the nervous system has less work to do. That saved energy can support clarity. Over these minutes, permit small adjustments. Shoulders loosen, jaw releases, eyebrows ease. The music does not push. It accompanies a quiet return to center. Gentle alertness without strain. Let posture be natural and supported. This segment considers how sound can encourage alertness without tipping into agitation. In many soundscapes, bright percussion or rapid patterns can trigger vigilance. Here, the ambience follows a different approach. Steady tones, rounded attacks, and stable low-mid energy. The goal is sustained presence rather than spike-driven attention. Breath can be the guide. Even, quiet, present. The wide stereo field can feel like a steady horizon. When the auditory system meets consistent input, it often relaxes guard duty, allowing cognitive resources to gather calmly. This type of gentle alertness is useful for organizing thoughts, reflecting on plans, or easing transitions between tasks. If tension appears in the neck or temples, invite those areas to soften. If eyes want to close, that is fine. If they prefer to rest on a single point, that is also fine. The ambient bed remains safe and predictable, which helps attention remain stable without effort. Think of it as a lamp with a dimmer set to a comfortable level. Enough light to see clearly, not so much that it dazzles. Carry your tones and perceived beats. Settle into easy breathing and a relaxed jaw. Binaural perception involves presenting slightly different tones to left and right ears. The brain integrates these into a perceived internal beat that equals the difference between the two. While the ear hears two steady tones, the mind senses a single, slow pulse. For practical listening, it is not necessary to calculate exact numbers. What matters is the gentle, predictable character of the environment. The accompanying ambient bed acts as a cushion, making the experience comfortable over time. Stability and softness reduce the listener's workload. The aim is to cultivate conditions where attention can rest, where the system can gradually lean into slower rhythms. Comfort is central. Low to moderate volume, well-fitted headphones if used, and a posture that does not create strain. The more the environment feels safe, the easier it becomes for the nervous system to release scanning behaviors and settle into a steady internal pace. Frequency following and entrainment. Invite the breath to be unhurried. Frequency following refers to the tendency of neural activity to align, to some degree, with steady rhythmic input. This does not mean control or coercion. It means offering a consistent signal the system can synchronize with when conditions allow. The ambient bed underneath supports this by avoiding sudden changes, keeping dynamics smooth, and using long reverb tails that dissolve edges. When predictable inputs replace irregular ones, vigilance can ease. The benefit is less about a dramatic effect and more about steady influence over time. Think of a metronome ticking softly in the next room. It does not demand attention, yet it sets a tone for the space. Paired with slow, even breathing and a comfortable posture, this consistency can help the body downshift from urgency to presence. The result is a kinder relationship to attention, gentle, stable, and sustainable. Masking with pink and brown noise. Let the shoulders settle and the mouth rest slightly open. Pink and brown noise can serve as soft masks, gently covering small environmental sounds that might otherwise tug at attention. Unlike bright white noise, these darker noise colors place more energy in lower frequencies, which many find easier to live with for long periods. The ambient bed blends these noise layers at low levels with warm pads so that the ear does not need to work. The experience should feel like a quiet cocoon, safe, steady, and non-intrusive. Masking helps reduce startle responses to distant doors, occasional traffic, or subtle room creaks. Over minutes, the nervous system learns there is nothing to manage. That lesson clears space for rest, focused work, or simple being. Keep volume modest and allow the sound to sit behind awareness like soft air. Breath, posture, and the auditory field. Place the tongue softly on the roof of the mouth and let the breath drop into the lower ribs. The sound field can be used as a gentle anchor, wide, slow, and warm. Each exhale can coincide with a feeling of the body settling into the surface beneath it. The narration remains unhurried to demonstrate a pace that invites the system to copy it. When posture is supported and breath is easy, the auditory system interprets the environment as safer. This reduces impulsive scanning and helps attention stay stable without force. The ambient bed avoids bright details, so the ears are not drawn to constant novelty. Over time, breath, posture, and sound begin to align, a simple trio that lowers effort. This is not a technique to perfect. It is a practice of quiet friendliness toward the body. Gentle routines for evening wind-down. Imagine a small sequence at day's end. Dimmer lights, a tidy space, comfortable clothes, and a familiar sound bed. Predictability is powerful. The auditory system appreciates routine because it can anticipate what comes next. In this segment, the ambient texture remains steady and low, inviting the day to taper. Breathing can mirror this taper. A little longer on the exhale, a little more weight in the hips and shoulders. The narration keeps a soft cadence to model non-urgency. A wind-down routine does not require complexity. It requires consistency. When sound, light, and posture repeat night after night, the nervous system learns the pattern and begins downshifting earlier, often without conscious effort. This is less about forcing sleep and more about building a pathway that the body recognizes and trusts. Comfort first listening and safe practice. Comfort is the foundation of this approach. Keep volumes low to moderate to protect the ears and to avoid auditory fatigue. If headphones are used, let them sit lightly. Comfort matters more than technical perfection. The ambient bed remains sparse, with rounded edges and warm frequencies, so long sessions do not become tiring. The narration is deliberately calm, offering information without pressure. Listening should be non-hazardous, best reserved for rest, reading, journaling, or quiet contemplation. If any sensation feels uncomfortable, reduce volume or take a break. The idea is to create a relationship with sound that supports, never overwhelms. Comfort first practice sustains itself because it feels good in the moment and leaves the system fresher afterward. nature-inspired textures and steady horizons. Close the eyes if that feels helpful. Imagine ocean hush, distant rainfall, or soft forest air. The ambient bed borrows qualities from these environments: broadband steadiness, slow movement, and a lack of sharp edges. Nature sounds are familiar to the nervous system. They suggest safety because their patterns are spacious and predictable. The stereo field can feel like a horizon, wide and stable. Breathing can align with that sense of horizon, expansive on the inhale, releasing on the exhale. When the ear meets gentle, stable textures, it relaxes the impulse to monitor, and attention becomes less sticky. This creates room for sleep readiness, quiet thinking, or peaceful idling. The aim is not to simulate nature exactly, but to echo its calming logic. Space, stereo width, and perceived room. Let the jaw soften and the shoulders drop. The bed beneath this narration uses stereo width to create a sense of space, as if the room is a little larger and softer. Spaciousness can reduce the feeling of being crowded by thoughts. Long reverb tails melt edges, so sounds linger and fade rather than stop abruptly. The result is less about hearing a particular melody and more about sensing a continuous field. That field supports gentle presence. Attention can rest on the whole rather than jumping between parts. With fewer sudden boundaries, the nervous system can ease its grip. The soundscape becomes a cushion for the next minutes, unobtrusive, supportive, and kind. fluctuation, plasticity, and patient progress, consider a simple truth. The system learns what it repeats. Calm sound, steady breath, and supportive posture, practiced regularly, can shift baseline states over time. There is no need to chase dramatic moments. Small signals, repeated gently, can produce meaningful change. The ambient bed respects this idea by staying consistent, avoiding fireworks. The narration remains even to reinforce the same message. If a session feels ordinary, that is fine. Ordinary can be restorative. Trust in routine. Pay attention to comfort and sustainability. Progress here often looks like needing less effort to feel settled, noticing softer self-talk, or finding that sleep arrives more simply. Patience is not waiting. Patience is practicing the conditions that allow rest to appear. A soft landing into rest. Let the breath be the simplest guide. In, out, unforced. The sound remains a low, gentle presence, like a lamp turned down. This final segment is about releasing the day without debate. Muscles can grow heavier. The floor or mattress can feel more reliable. Thoughts can pass through quietly, like birds crossing a wide sky. The narration steps back so the body can do what it knows how to do. If sleep comes, it is welcomed. If wakefulness persists, it can be easy. Nothing is required. The sound holds a steady, kind horizon. Trust the simplicity. Soft sound, easy breath, supported body. Let the system settle into a pace that asks for nothing and offers rest.